What is going on, everybody? Happy MLB opening day. It is the Thursday NHL Strategy Show. The Mets gave up 2 runs on 2 batters. Their season's over. Hate that for them. I think that's the only game going right now. I guess the Yankees won on Netflix last night. I'm old and I was sleeping. But we have 13 games here. You have a chance to win a Happy Meal if you ship, but that's just usually the case when MLB starts. It is what it is. It's going to be a little bit tough sledding with the GPPs until the first round of the playoffs, but that's a few weeks away. Joining me to break it down, Slim Cliffy. Big game for your Habs tonight.
Yeah, real big game against Columbus. Lots of interesting matchups. You have Columbus, Montreal, obviously. Pittsburgh, Ottawa is a pretty big game. I guess that's kind of it for where like both teams have major playoff implications. But 13 game slate here tonight. Before we get too much further, do want to shout out Henry. Henry shipped the quarter arcade on Tuesday night. He had Dallas with that Chicago second line of Nazar, Lardis, and Bertuzzi. Nick Lardis, 0.17% owned Nick Lardis. 24.3 DK points. Arvid Soderblom had a massive game in net for Chicago. So congrats to Henry. Love to see it. Hopefully we can get another person shipping here tonight.
Yeah, winning the quarter arcade, no matter what the top prize is, no matter what sport, is always a tough feat. Listen, the Rangers suck. They lost to the Leafs last night, but my 3 best puck teams I'm the only one on the 3 teams that have Mika Zibanejad, Alexis Lafreniere, Charlie McAvoy, and David Pastrnak. I'm riding them to glory right now, but we still have a few days left in the semifinals. So if you're in the semifinals there, good luck. 13 game slate here. MLB does start today, so if you do want to test out the Sims, you can use promo code PUCKLUCK at stokastic.com/pricing. They'll get you 15% off any subscription, MLB weekly, monthly. Not 100% sure if you can get that with the annual. If you are interested in the annual, shoot me a DM. I'll get the answers from the people who have those answers because I do not. But let's get into this slate. We'll start it off with the Minnesota Wild with a 3.2 total. Heading into Florida, the Panthers have a 2.8. Florida going Tkachuk, Bennett, Verhaeghe, Rodriguez, Lusteron, and Bachquist. Minnesota going Kaprizov, Zuccarello, Hartman, Boldy, Eriksson, Ek, Tarasenko. The Foligno, Bash brothers down on the 4th line. That line has been priced. Don't play them. This is a pretty interesting game because Florida, for some reason, Vegas still thinks Florida's a pretty good team. They're pretty awful, and they're missing half the roster. It is Daniil Tarasov in net, so their better goalie this season is in net. Florida still has a pretty good penalty kill, but they take a lot of penalties. And, this top line for Florida, Bennett, Verhaeghe, Tkachuk, whether they go out against top comp, whether the second line goes out against top comp, they're just not great defensively. And Kaprizov is going to play his, 21 to 24 minutes. You get 2 of the 3 on the top power play. They may get 4 opportunities. I don't know if they're going to score on them, but, they'll get the opportunities. They're coming in at 18,700, 2.9% top 2, 0.4% projected ownership. I know, there's no ownership there. It's one of the higher road totals on the board. And it's a good 5-on-5 matchup. I do like Minnesota 1. Florida 1's $400 more, and we'll get to that in a second. I think I prefer the Minnesota Wild, the Minnesota side, and I'll give you reasons in a minute. I think the second line is also fine. Eriksson, Ek, Boldy, Tarasenko. But the problem is they're 18,200, right? At that point, I'm just going to go up and get Kaprizov. if you wanted to turn it into a power play stack, I guess you could go Eriksson Ek over Hartman to make it 19-2. But again, Panthers have a good penalty kill. They just take a bunch of penalties. So I think it would be Minnesota 1 for me. On the Florida side, it would just be Florida 1. They're 19,100, 12.4% top 2, 8.1% projected ownership. It's a very high top 2 stack. Here's the problem. One, it's a good power play matchup. Don't get me wrong. But Minnesota's penalty kill is vastly improved over the past month compared to where it was earlier in the season. 2, they went to a shootout against Seattle. 4-4 going to a shootout. Tkachuk under 20 minutes, Bennett under 19 minutes, and Verhaeghe played 17 minutes. These guys aren't getting minutes because they've kind of waved the white flag, and by kind of they've been waving it. So at that point, I'd rather save the $400 and go play Kaprizov because I know he's going to play those minutes. Verhaeghe may play 17, Bennett may play 18, Tkachuk may play 19. But if I'm spending up 19-1 for that, I don't think I want to do that because above them, there's Dallas, Montreal, Tampa, Colorado. Below them, you have Minnesota, you have LA, you have Pittsburgh. These boys are going to get their minutes above and below them. So they're not only are they priced in a weird spot, it's not like they're playing 20, 21 minutes. So for 17, 18 minutes, I'll probably just go down to Minnesota 1.
Yeah, I'm not going to go long on Florida. That's my exact thought on that Panthers top line. Just not enough minutes. Like you mentioned the Kings. If the Kings are playing a close game that goes to a shootout, those guys are all playing 21 to 23 minutes, right? And if you can't rely on literally anybody from that Florida line in a 65-minute game playing 20 minutes, then I'm out at that price. Question is what to do with Minnesota. The Florida penalty kill has generally been pretty good this year, fallen off lately. About league average over the last 25 games. Now, about league average isn't bad in and of itself, but they take so many penalties that being league average on the penalty kill while taking the most penalties per game means they're giving up the 7th most power play goals against per game over the last 25 games. And obviously, we know Reinhardt's a big penalty killer for them. He's not in there. Obviously, they're missing a whole bunch of guys, like you said. So it is the Minnesota power play guys. Minnesota's drawing the 2nd most power play opportunities per game over the last 25, and they're scoring 1 power play goal per game in that span. They've been one of the best power plays in the league, basically since Quinn Hughes took over at the very least in calendar 2026. So I would figure out a way to get some sort of power play stack in there. Whether I do Boldy, Eriksson Ek, Kaprizov, or Kaprizov, Zuccarello, Eriksson Ek, something like that. The 5-on-5 matchups, I don't really care about. It's not like that there's one or the other matchup that would lean me in either direction of the team. But, considering there are some lines in that 17 and 19K range that are drawing a ton of ownership, and Minnesota's guys are all coming in at 1% or less. I really at the very least, a one-off Kaprizov or a one-off Boldy or something like that. Joel Eriksson Ek hasn't been hugely productive, but he has 31 shots in his last 11 games, almost 3 shots per game. He's involved. So I would figure out a way to turn it into some sort of power play stack. If you just want to do Kaprizov plus Quinn Hughes or something like that, I think that's fine. But I'm focusing on the power play guys from Minnesota here.
Columbus, not so much our Blue Jackets with a 3.2 total. Heading into Montreal, the Canadiens have a 3.1. Columbus going Fantilli, Marchment, Marchenko, Monahan, Johnson, Garland, Coyle, Sillinger, Olivier. Montreal going.
St. Johnson's not in. It's Miles Wood.
Oh yeah, Miles Wood. Sorry, I love Ken Johnson, so he's number 1 in my heart. So he's in, but it is miles and miles of Wood. Montreal going Suzuki, Caulfield, Slavkovsky, Evans, Bolduc, Texier. This is another spot where I'm worried about minutes because Fantilli, Marchenko, Marchment, 17,100 going into the Suzuki matchup. Their last game was a close game against Philly. They all played 15 minutes. Marchenko was under 15 minutes. Now, it's a very good power play spot. So from that aspect, if you want to get to Columbus 1, in MME, I think that's fine. They have a 5% top two, 3.7% projected ownership, but like they're rolling 4 lines. Boone Jenner on the 4th line played over 16 minutes last game, more than anyone on the top line. Charlie Coyle led them in ice time, over 18 minutes. Cole Sillinger was next at like 17. So like, I think for me, I'm going to the 3rd line for Columbus. Coyle, Sillinger, Olivier. They've been good offensively in 400 minutes. They're going to see the depth of Montreal. They're going to avoid the Suzuki matchup. You still get Coyle on the top power play. Now, if you wanted to leave off Sillinger and add in one of the power play guys, I think that's fine. But for me, it's the depth of Columbus. There's just too many minutes concerns for me on the top line. It is a very good power play spot. It's not a good 5-on-5 spot getting that Suzuki matchup. On the other side, the Montreal top line is 21,300. They are similarly priced. The last game, Suzuki played 21, but the other two were under 19, I believe. So, like, it's a similar situation. You have Kucherov above them. You have McKinnon above them. You know those boys are going to play their big minutes. Robertson and Johnston for $1,300 less will be in a similar minutes range. Again, it's a very good power play matchup, and they're going to get 18, 19, 20 minutes. Suzuki will play over 21. So I don't love the price at 21,300, but they have a 15.5% top two, 7.8% projected ownership. I think it's the second highest top two on the night. I don't love the price, but I do love the matchup. So I think I'm okay with them in single entry. I don't think I'm getting there, but I would much prefer to play Montreal and MME just because of the minutes. If they were like the same price as Florida won, I'd be much more in on them, but 21.3 is a steep price to pay. Again, it would be a 2-man of Evans, Texier, Bolduc, something like that. So depth for me in this game.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Columbus, over their last 25 games, has the #1 penalty kill in the NHL by goals against per minute. They also have a .927 save percentage on the penalty kill. No other team is even above 900. Like, it's one of those things like we talked about Buffalo earlier in the season, like it's going to come down. Buffalo certainly did. Instead of being the best team on the PK, they've been like top 10 for 30 to 40 games now. I'm kind of with you on Montreal one, like 21,300. It is really expensive. Like, there's no real matchup concerns for me coming back from Columbus. It's just that I can pay like an extra 1,300 and go play, Tampa Bay at home against Seattle. That's probably what I'm going to do. And when I ran Sims, the positive leverage player it gave back to me, skater, was Noah Dobson. And then Jakub Dobeš, starting goalie, was there too. But Caulfield, Slafkovsky, especially pretty big negative leverage. I'm not super high on the Habs here. Honestly, I'm more into Columbus. I agree with you. Like, it would be nice to see these guys, consistently playing like 19 minutes every single game. I have to think that last game against Philadelphia was a bit of an aberration. Like, that was a 2-2 game going into like the last 10 minutes. And that Columbus top line didn't see the ice in the last 5 minutes of the game in a 2-2 game, and they ended up losing. They ended up winning that one. So they're not getting used with the empty net, which kind of bothers me. But at 17,100, I think that's fine. Like, if they were priced like Florida won, like $2,000 more expensive, I think that's a different conversation. But you're getting over 10% savings on that line compared to Florida. Not a ton of ownership. They have been really, really good at 5-on-5, 3.9 goals per 60 since Rick Bowness took over. Fantilli has 17 points in his last 15 games. He's been on a really good heater, and it's a really good power play matchup for them. Montreal's penalty kill, bottom 5 in the NHL over the last 25 games. In general, I prefer the Columbus side. I will say they're not the first line that I put in. Like, if I want to play a couple lines in that 16, 17K range and I'm looking for something to pair with another line, then I put them in. If I'm looking for a filler line to play with a 20K line or whatever, then I put in the Olivier line or something like that. Like, no matter what I use for Columbus in single entry, they're not my first line in, but I have no problem pairing them depending on your needs here. Obviously, I prefer Columbus 1, all things considered, but to me, I think they're perfectly fine as like your secondary stack.
Dallas Stars with a 2.9 total heading into Long Island. Sucks for everyone involved. The Islanders have a 2.7. Stars going Johnson, Robertson, Bork, Duchesne, Ben, Bunting. Islanders doing that weird thing. They're going Horvat, Heineman, Lee, Shen, Ritchie, Barzal, JG Pajot with Holmstrom. This is a 5.5 total, but I don't mind the Dallas side. 20,000 even. It's not awful. I mean, Bork being there is kind of annoying. Like, I guess if you wanted to put up Jamie Benn instead of Bork to lower the price, you could do that. I haven't seen them did they confirm Sorokin? They have. That's a problem. That's the one thing keeping me off there. It's Sorokin. He has been excellent this season, but for 20K, 13.4% top two, 9% ownership projected. I don't mind them, but again, they're in that weird range where if I'm going to be in that range, I might just go up to Tampa or Colorado, might go down into the 18Ks. Like, paying 20K for a 2.9 road total doesn't feel great. I'd probably do like a one-off Johnston, a one-off Robertson, a two-man of Duchesne, Ben, or something like that. But I don't think I'd stack anything on the Dallas side. On the Islanders side, it's kind of a similar situation. The Horvat, Lee, Heineman, they've been fine in their 2 games together, but, they're going to see that Haskin and Lindell matchup. The second line is fully correlated, and they've been fine in their 2. It's a really small sample. Like, I guess if anything, it would be that second line at 13.6. But, I'm not really looking for anything in single entry from this game.
Yeah, in general, I just prefer the Dallas side in this one. I don't mind playing that Islanders. It would be Horvat, Lee, and Heineman, if anything, from the Islanders, 15,800. I mean, Lee and Bo Horvat do have pretty high event numbers together, even without Barzal on their line. 81 shot attempts, 4.9 expected goals in 50 minutes without Barzal. It's a lot. I think that's they're fine to play, but on a slate this big, single entry, 2.7 total, don't really feel the need. On the Dallas side, they're going to use that Horvat Lee line in a shutdown matchup. Very, very high event, which I would say favors Robertson and Johnston. 3.5 expected goals in their minutes together with Maverick Bork. They do play pretty good minutes. Bork will be in the high teens, and Johnston and Robertson, if it's a close game, are going to be between 20 and 22 minutes. So at 20K, I think it's kind of fine. I would rather play them than Florida, and I'd rather play them than Montreal. So if you don't want to pay all the way up for a Tampa Bay or a Colorado or something like that, I think Dallas 1 is a nice happy medium here. But going up against Sorokin is not something I typically do. Dallas 2 is fine as a filler. Sam Steele's back on that line, I believe, because they're healthy scratching Michael Bunting. Nice trade. So they've been pretty good with Sam Steele there. 3 expected goals, 57 shot attempts, 4 goals per 60. Obviously, you get power play time as well. So I don't mind Dallas 2 as a filler. Dallas 1 is easily my favorite line in this game, even considering their price at 20K. 2.9 total on the road against Ilya Sorokin. I don't think I'm running up to play them either.
Chicago Blackhawks with a 2.5 total heading into Philadelphia. The Flyers have a 3 total. Chicago going Bedard, Green, Anton Frondel, Nazar, Bertuzzi, Lardis. Flyers going Dvorak, Bump, Konechny, Zegras, Barkey, Tippett. I'm trying to see. Flyers did not confirm a goalie. I would assume it's Vladar. Either way, I do have a little bit of interest in the Chicago top line. at 13,900. It's a price and 5-on-5 matchup thing. Like Bedard's going to play his decent minutes. The other guys are cheap. Frundell's on the top power play. The Flyers have a bad penalty kill. 1.2% top two, 1.2% ownership. I do like. I'm not running out to play the Blackhawks in the 2.5 road total on a 26 team slate, but for a top line at that price in this matchup, honestly, like in MME, I don't mind them. You want to go to that second line. It does feel a little bit chasey. Like Nick Lardis just had a career game, but they are only 11,100. There's no matchup concerns. You do get Nazar and Bertuzzi on the top power play, but push comes to shove, I'd rather get Bedard and Frundell in my lineup. On the Flyer side, it's a good power play matchup. What that means, I don't know. I'd probably just go to Zegras, Tippett, Barkey. Don't really have interest in Noah Cates and Mitchkov. Don't really have interest in Dvorak, Konechny, Bump. So by default, it would be Zegras, Tippett, Barkey.
Yeah. One thing I will say about Chicago, I think this might be a case. I know it's a 2.5 total on the road. This might be a case where I'd be kind of interested in turning into a power play stack.
Yeah.
Just because the Flyers penalty kill has been so bad. It's been bad basically all season. Their last 25 games, even a slight improvement over their last 25 games still has them 21st in the league by goals against per minute. Chicago's power play, it's honestly struggled with Frank Nazar there. It was better when he was injured. So it's kind of weird. But if you do want to do like Bedard, Frundell plus, Nazar, Bedard, Frundell plus Tyler Bertuzzi, like Tyler Bertuzzi's even playing a ton of minutes of late. He can play 17 upwards of 19 minutes easily. And it's not an expensive stack, right? Like Bedard, Frundell, Bertuzzi is 15,200 in a pretty good power play matchup. I don't mind doing that. Bedard averaging 3.5 shots per game since returning from the Olympic break. So I don't mind turning it into some sort of Chicago power play stack. I'd say that's probably 20 max and above for me, but considering the very low ownership and a good special teams matchup, I don't mind the Blackhawks. The Flyers side, like it has to be Zegras and Tippett at 13K. Zegras and Tippett are getting 19 to 20 minutes. Tippett, obviously, he's been shooting a lot. Even Zegras is at 2 shots per game over his last 10 games. I'm not really worried about any of the matchups coming back from Chicago at 13K. They're not a complete filler, but they're cheap enough to put with your, if you're playing Florida, if you're playing Dallas or anything like that. Minnesota, they're certainly cheap enough to put with them. Not worried about any of the matchups coming back from the Chicago side. So I think it's the Zegras Tippett line I prefer in this game. I don't hate the idea of a Chicago power play stack, but for me, that would probably be MME only.
Is Jaromir Jagr still playing? He owns a team in Czech Republic and occasionally plays, but not in the NHL. He's what, 50 now?
Oh, he's like 54 or something. Yeah. He's still playing in the Czech men's league.
Yeah. What a boss. Pittsburgh Penguins with a 2.8 total. Heading into Ottawa, the Senators have a 3.3. Pittsburgh going Crosby, Raquel, Rust, Novak, Chinnikov, Mantha, Kindle, Brazeau, Koivunen. Sens going Stützle, Batherson, Giroux, Cousins, Kachuk, Grieg, Pinto, Amadio, Cousins. If you're outraged that Jordan Spence isn't on the top power play, Carter Yakemchuk is a highly touted prospect. So he's a large mammal. He was I think, 7th, 8th pick last year for the Sens. The Sens are pretty good drafters. So something like that. He's large. And he was a point per game player in the WHL. We'll see. Anyway, he's been priced. Excuse me. This is a brutal matchup at 5-on-5 for the Penguins. Like Pinto, Cousins, Amadio going out against Crosby. That's just, over 215 minutes, 2 expected goals against per 60, 1.9 actual. That's just nasty. but it is a pretty good power play matchup. I don't know if I want to spend 18.6 for them though. Maybe because I don't know what Carlson's been taking, but he's on one right now. I don't particularly love Pitt 1 here though. Like, I have to consider Pitt 2 at 11.6 just because of how good they are. And Mantha is on the top power play unit. It's a terrible 5-on-5 matchup, but for 11.6 and decent minutes, they've been excellent offensively. They wouldn't be my first filler in at that price range, but like they'd definitely be in consideration because, despite it being a tough 5-on-5 matchup, they don't need that much to really pay off at their price, and they've been excellent. So I think it would be Pitt 2 for me. Yeah, on the Ottawa side, it's not a good power play matchup. Penguins have a very good penalty kill. And the Sens just don't have enough puck movers. And their top two lines are kind of pricey. So I don't love them. I think it would be more MME. No one's playing them. The Tkachuk line's coming in at 1.9%. Stützle at 0.3%. The Pinto line 0.9%. I think if anything, I'd go play the Pinto line. Just because at home, they go out against top comp. Not that there's a any matchup is a good matchup for the Sens here, but at 10,600 going out against the Crosby line, which has been really bad defensively, I think I'd go Pinto line.
Yeah, on the Ottawa side, when I ran Sims, the players with the most positive leverage, defenseman, goalie, defenseman. Obviously, considering no Jake Sanderson, no Thomas Chabot, I think that makes a lot of sense. I don't have any interest in the Ottawa top guys. Missing Sanderson and Chabot, I think, is going to hurt Ottawa a lot more offensively than it will defensively. I was looking at their defensive numbers without Sanderson or Chabot on the ice this season. They're really, really good. It's still a brutal 5-on-5 matchup for Pittsburgh. So, but the offensive numbers have taken a bit of a hit. Like, if you want to one-off, like I always say, if you want to one-off like Brady Tkachuk or something like that, that's fine. Tkachuk really doesn't have a great projection today, though. So I think I'm with you. It's like a Pinto Amadio two-man probably. They're going to go out against that Crosby line that's at 3.4 expected goals against per 60 this season. Pittsburgh goaltending is kind of low. I don't know, low key or high key, depends if you're a Pens fan. Completely fallen apart over the last month. So I don't mind like a Pinto Amadio two-man here. They're relatively cheap. Amadio's actually got the least amount of negative leverage in the Sims that I got of any forward that the Sims ran from Ottawa. So it's probably a Pinto Amadio two-man from Ottawa. On the Penguins side, like if anything, it's the second line, but otherwise, I'm probably out. Linus Ullmark starting. It's a brutal 5-on-5 matchup. Over every team's last 25 games, Ottawa's penalty kill is, I think, second in the league by goals against per minute. Remember on Tuesday, I talked about how they took Nick Jensen off the penalty kill and have been great since. Well, Nick Jensen's not in the lineup tonight. So I guess like a two-man of like Novak Mantha or Chinnikov Mantha or something like that is fine. But for me, it's like a Pinto Mario two-man, and that's it.
Seattle Kraken, I'm out with a 2.5 total. Heading into Tampa Bay, the Lightning have a 3.9. I just want to say these lines because there's some cool names. Matty Beniers, Eberle, Catton, Stevenson, McMahon, Kako, Wright, Tolvanen, Oscar, Fisker, Molgard. That's a great name. But I'm out on Seattle. These lines suck. And it's a brutal matchup. Tampa going Cirelli, Hagel, Kucherov, Point, Gonsalves, Gensel. It is a very good matchup for Tampa here. It is a very good power play matchup for Tampa here. Hagel is still on the top power play unit. That top line with Kucherov, over 300 minutes, 4.6 expected goals per 60, 5.3 actual. Like, that's just, those aren't even real. You probably couldn't even achieve that in the video game. 20.7% top two, 9.7% projected ownership. They're 22,600. Like, I mean, the price really it's expensive, but like it's not awful. Like Colorado on the road the other night was what 24-3. Like a Kucherov line at 22-6 with two guys on the top power play, not awful. I guess if you wanted to turn it into a more power play stack, you can leave off Cirelli and add in Point or Gensel. Adding in Point would make it 23-1. The Point Gensel Gonsalves line in itself is pretty good as well. They're 15,300. If you want to leave off Gonsalves and add in Kucherov, you're looking at 21,900 there. That's another route you can go. But, Cirelli, Hagel, Kucherov in a very good 5-on-5 matchup, I think with two guys on the top power play, I think I'd just play them. If you do want to turn into more power play stack, you can. But, with Gord going out against Beniers, that Cirelli line is going to see Stevenson. So, I'm probably just sticking with Tampa 1.
Yeah, I'm out on Seattle. When I ran Sims, the number 2 and number 3 skaters with the most positive leverage were from Tampa Bay, and they were Darren Radish and Nikita Kucherov. Nikita Kucherov leads Stokastic projections here tonight by 10% over any other skater. There are 26 teams on the slate. We have Nathan McKinnon, Connor McDavid, Macklin Celebrini, Artemi Panarin, Cole Caulfield, Brady Tkachuk, Jason Robertson, and Nikita Kucherov is 10% higher than the next closest guy. He's going to carry a fair amount of ownership, but I really don't care. There are a pile of fillers that you can use here tonight. We've already gone over some of them, including Ottawa 3 that we just talked about. I think at the very least, like a Kucherov one-off makes quite a bit of sense. All things considered, there are minutes concerns here as well, because they have been playing Cirelli will play 16 minutes. Kucherov and Hagel will be 19 to 20. It's not a ton, but they're also so efficient that it doesn't really matter. So yeah, Tampa 1 is they have the highest top 2 stack on the board. They're the number 1 line on the night. It's just a matter if you want to pay up for them. Normally, I don't pay up for lines that expensive, but I am certainly not opposed to a Kucherov, Hagel 2-man, or a Kucherov, Darren Radish. We'll get to the defenseman at the end of the show, something like that. Even as Seattle's penalty kill has improved over the last 25 games, they're still well below average, and they're bottom 5 in the league over the last 4 months, going back to American Thanksgiving. So great power play matchup. That top line's been probably the best 5-on-5 line in the league offensively, if not right up there with one of the Nathan McKinnon lines. So yeah, Tampa 1, certainly. I think Nikita Kucherov as a one-off just makes a lot of sense, though.
Paul Skeens gave up 5 runs in the first of the Mets. Their season's back on. New Jersey Devils with a 3 total. Heading into Nashville, the Predators have a 3 total as well. Devils going Hischier, Meyer, Mercer, Hughes, Brown. I guess Arseny Gritsuk got hurt, and he's week to week. So the bottom 6 doesn't really matter anymore. Preds are going Stamkos, O'Reilly, Evangelista, Forsberg, Marchessault, Wood. Yeah, Evgeny Dodanov's on that third line now. Oof. On the Devils side, I don't particularly love the Devils here. 18-2 for the Jack Hughes line is a bit pricey, but they are fully correlated, and they are going to, if I was the Predators coach, Andrew Burnett's a little crazy, but if I was Andrew Burnett, I would send O'Reilly out against Hughes. I don't know. They're just 18,200 in that range. I just prefer so many other lines. I think, if I was going to play a Devils line, it would be the Jack Hughes line, just because they are fully correlated. I don't particularly love them in that price range. No one's playing in 1.3% projected ownership. So in MME, getting little bit's fine. Same with the Nico Hischier line at 15.2, coming in at 2.2%. I don't love them, but if you run Sims and you get them in a little bit of your 150 mix, fine. My favorite line in this game is the Preds top line, O'Reilly, Stamkos, Evangelista. I don't know how this combination is good, but they have been excellent. It doesn't make sense to me, but I guess it doesn't have to. 3.3% top two, 2.7% projected ownership, 16,200, 2-3 on the top power play. It's a good 5-on-5 matchup. It's a good power play matchup. Jake Allen is their better goalie this season, but he's about league average from a save percentage standpoint. So normally we would see chalk Preds in this situation. Thankfully, we do not. At that price, I'm in on that top line.
Yeah, running Sims, the only player with a positive leverage that came back was Ryan O'Reilly. Everybody else was negative, but Ryan O'Reilly and Luke Evangelista were 1 and 2 coming back from Nashville. So I think Nashville one does make sense. You mentioned how good they've been. 3.7 expected goals, 4.6 actual.
Doesn't make sense.
And over 200 minutes together, they've been tremendous. Even Stamkos, he has 10 points in his last 10 games. The New Jersey penalty kill has legitimately gotten a lot better as the season's gone on, though. That's one thing that does kind of worry me here. But, it's not like you're paying 19,100 like we talked about earlier for Florida or $20K for Dallas, over 21,000 for Montreal. Like, this line is 16,200. You can fit in another line in a similar price range and still get in an expensive defenseman, like Roman Josi or Cale Makar or something like that. So, I really do like Nashville one here. I imagine they're going to go out against the Hischier line. I was looking at the Dallas game. Dallas sent out Lindell and Heiskanen against Hischier and Meyer pretty much exclusively through the game. Jack Hughes' line absolutely destroyed them. So I guess Dallas kind of got what they deserved there. But if O'Reilly goes out against that New Jersey top line, they're at 2.8 expected goals against, 62 shot attempts against per 60. They haven't been very good this year defensively. I really do like Nashville one here. I think if I don't play Nashville one, like Philip Forsberg's on one of the quietest tears in the NHL. He has 33 points in his last 25 games. It's like a 108 point pace, and he's averaging like 3.8 shots per game in that span.
Because he's playing with Eric Holla. Whoever the hell he's playing with.
Yeah, no, he's with Matt Wood now. Remember that hat trick? That feels like a lifetime ago. But yeah, Nashville one, I think is perfectly fine here. They're going to go out against Hischier and Meyer. I have no problem going back to New Jersey too, just because once you get to those second and third lines from Nashville, those are not good defensive lines. New Jersey 2, 3.2 goals per 60 in their time together. At the low end, Connor Brown and Jesper Bratt will play like 18, 19 minutes, and obviously Jack Hughes will be way over 20. 18,200, they're a little bit expensive, but if you don't want to pick between the Minnesota lines, and I don't want to play Ottawa or Pittsburgh, I think this is the line that I would probably play in that 18 to 20K range over Florida, over Ottawa, over Pittsburgh. It's New Jersey too, but certainly Nashville won at just over 16K is my favorite line in this game.
I think Clayton enjoys just like correcting me all the time, but Markstrom is likely here tonight. He sucks, but started for Sweden all the time. That coach needs to be investigated. Anyway, San Jose Sharks, 2.8 total. Heading into St. Louis, the Blues have a 3.3. Sharks going Celebrini, Smith, Chernyshov, Eklund, Groff, Wenberg, Sherwood, Misa, Regenda. No Robert Thomas for the Blues. They are just moving up Dvorsky in between Holloway and Snuggerud, keeping the second line together. They go. It's like that three-headed dragon meme. They go from like three angry dragons to with Dvorsky. So
flip that one, please.
It's a massive down. Like, I don't want to like Dvorsky is a pretty good prospect, but like Robert Thomas is a legit good two-way center at this stage in his career. Going to Dvorsky now, the price drops drastically, like 4,100, down to 15 and change. But like, no one's playing him now. Again, I'd probably just go to the second line, and I hate their minutes, but maybe they get a bump now that Thomas is out. And, there's no real matchup concerns coming back from the Sharks. So I don't mind that second line. I wonder, maybe the top line stays fully correlated. I don't know.
That's what I was wondering too.
Yeah.
I don't know if Dvorsky necessarily just takes Thomas's spot, like literally his spot on the ice on the power play, but it makes a lot of sense to just kind of put him there and then just figure the rest out.
Yeah. So like, I don't mind taking a stab at that top line either. The problem is like Holloway and Snuggerud are priced to play with Robert Thomas. Like their minutes aren't going to be. I feel like their minutes are going to come down a little bit. So that's why I still feel like going to the second line, hoping they get a minutes bump with Thomas out. On the Shark side, it's the top line. Like without Thomas, like yes, they're still pretty good defensively. Like Thomas is a pretty big loss. Hofer has been good in net, but listen, Macklin Celebrini's best numbers this season are with Chernyshov. They played about 170 together, 3.6 expected goals, 4.3 actual. I won't mention the defensive numbers because it's hideous, but like from an expected goal standpoint, you're not, and an actual goal standpoint, you're not going to find a better pair with Celebrini. So that Sharks top line's 17,400, 6.3% top two, 4.4% projected ownership, 17,400. Like that price is fine. You get 2 to 3 on the top power play. I do like them. Again, Chernyshov is 3K. You want to turn it to more of a power play stack. The Blues don't take a ton of penalties, but the penalty kill isn't great. You can add in Wenberger, Eklund. I know someone's going to ask. Sharks 2 has 2 of the 3 guys on the top power play too. They just played at such a slow pace and they don't create anything that I'm not playing the Sharks without Celebrini here.
Yeah, you mentioned how Holloway's priced like he's still playing with Robert Thomas. I was actually looking through his season very quickly. Like right before he got hurt, he was about $2,000 cheaper than he is now. Dvorsky's a decent prospect, but like you said, the gap between him and Thomas is just massive. I'd rather pay the extra $1,000 and just go play Nashville. So I'm out on St. Louis 1. It's St. Louis 2. I agree with you. I do think they get a bit of a minutes bump. I don't wonder if they straight up just aren't the top line here tonight and go out against Celebrini and company. I can't imagine they're going to send, Dalibor Dvorsky and Jimmy Snuggerud out against Macklin Celebrini for 15 minutes here tonight. But
I mean, they did it in the playoffs against Winnipeg, and you saw what happened there.
Yeah, exactly. So St. Louis 2, I do think they get a few extra minutes as well. They're at 60 shot attempts, 3.1 expected goals, 3.6 actual. Whether they go out against Celebrini or not, I really don't care about the 5-on-5 matchup. Like St. Louis 2, I do think they get a bit of a minutes bump. They're only at 13K. I think they're fine as like one of those pseudo fillers that you put with $17,000 or $18,000 lines so that you can fit in an expensive defenseman. So St. Louis 2, I think is my favorite line in this game. San Jose 1 is pretty interesting. 17,400 with no Robert Thomas. So I'm not super concerned about any of the matchups. Celebrini still has the 5th highest projection of anybody on the board here tonight. Number 3 amongst centers behind McKinnon and McDavid. Mention how good that line's been at 5-on-5. If I'm 20 maxing, I might just throw in one of that San Jose top line. Like I know Hofer's been a lot better, but I do think a lot of it is Robert Thomas since he came back from injury he's been an absolute monster. I certainly don't mind playing, even just if you want to add in Chernyshov, fine. But certainly a Celebrini Smith 2-man or Celebrini 1-off or something like that. With no Robert Thomas, I'm not as worried about any of the 5-on-5 matchups, but still, I think it's St. Louis 2 is my favorite line in this game, factoring in price and everything, and then San Jose 1.
Colorado Avalanche 3.3 total. Heading into Winnipeg, the Jets have a 2.7. They said Lehkonen is going to return tonight. I don't know if they ran lines. They probably didn't. We don't really get their lines anyway. I would assume he just slots into Ross Colton's spot on the second line, making it McKinnon, Netchus, Landeskog, Nelson, Nichushkin, Lehkonen. And then like Colton, Kadri, Roy, assuming Roy plays. He was out last game.
Roy's out.
Yeah, so maybe Kadri, Colton, O'Connor. Jets going Scheifele, Connor, Iafallo, Larry, Perfetti, Velarde. On the Jets side, again, if Velarde was on the top line, I'd maybe have some interest. But I just, with Iafallo there in this matchup, probably out on the Jets. I guess you could play Larry, Perfetti, Velarde as a filler at 12-9. But, I prefer others that are cheaper. So what do you want to do on the Colorado side? Assuming it's McKinnon, Netchus, Landeskog. They have been very good in just under 200 minutes offensively. The Jets aren't a great team. It is Connor Hellebuck. It's the one thing. So, 23,500 is a steep price to pay. I'm not going to do it in single entry. If I was going to pay up, it would definitely be for Tampa here tonight. I think depending on what the second and third lines are, I would have some interest in a Nelson, Nichushkin, Lehkonen, just because, with Morrissey off the ice, this team's an absolute disaster. Even a cheap Kadri, Colton, two-man or something like that is fine. I do like Colorado 1, don't get me wrong, but it's just a price thing. Yeah, I would look to the depth of Colorado.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not paying $23,500 for Colorado 1, but, I was talking about how Philip Forsberg's been on a tear. Martin Necas has 26 points in his last 15 games. That's since the Olympic break, he has 26 points. It's absolutely insane. That line's at 5.6 goals per 60 this season. It's a good 5-on-5 matchup. They're matchup proof for me at this point. Winnipeg's penalty kill, bottom 10 in the league over their last 25 games. They're 24th or something like that. So it's a pretty good power play matchup. And again, Colorado's power play since they traded for Kadri, shot attempts up 17%, expected goals up 16%, goal scoring up 35%. The goal scoring is the important part. They went from well below average for a top power play unit to a bit above average, and not it's not elite or anything. But if you can increase your power play goal scoring by 35%, considering how good that this line has been this season, I think, Colorado, I think, is MME for me, just because you have Tampa Bay right there at home to Seattle. I'd rather play Tampa at home to Seattle. I wouldn't begrudge anybody for playing Colorado, though. I think I'm kind of more in on that third line, like you said, rather than playing Nelson, Nichushkin, Lehkonen's first game back or whatever. It would be like Kadri, Colton, two-man or something like that. I think that would be kind of my interest here. Maybe Kadri can get you one on the power play or something like that. Colton's only 3,200. So I think that's kind of where I would be. On the Winnipeg side, I'm just out until Iafallo is off the top line. On a slate, this was an 8-game slate. I think we could have a conversation about it. 13-game slate. If you get to near MME lineups, fine. But when I ran Sims, the only player with positive leverage was Connor Hellebuck. So easy decision for me.
Yeah, and Colorado 1 has the highest positive leverage on the slate, but second is Tampa. So. You don't even get an advantage there. Let's talk about negative leverage and the Flames. Anaheim Ducks, they 3.5 total. Heading into Calgary, the Pilot Lights have a 3 total. Ducks going Carlson, Kreider, Terry, Granlund, Killorn, Seneca, Paling, Viel, Gauthier. Flames going Backlund, Coleman, Farabee, Frost, Coronado, Greedon, Strome, Olofsson, Sharon, Govich. What a lineup. On the Ducks side, it's the top line. One, Paling, Viel, Gauthier, 12,900. They're coming in 3x their top 2. Not particularly interested in that. I mean, you could leave off Terry and add in Gauthier to make it a power play stack, but Carlson, Terry, Kreider have been excellent together in their 300-plus minutes this season. It would be the Ducks top line here that I have the most interest. It doesn't really matter what matchup they see. Backlund, Coleman, Farabee have been fine. Frost, Greedon, Coronado haven't, and neither has a Strome line, unsurprisingly. But I do really like this top line. The Flames penalty kill has fallen off. So you do get, 2 of the 3 on the top unit. If you do want to just I think you could just straight up power play stack if you wanted to. It's not super price prohibitive. Like Seneca's 5,200, Gautier's 7K, but Jackson Lacomb's only 4,700. So it's really not awful, but I do really like Anaheim 1. If you do want to make it a power play stack, fine. On the Flame side, there's just so much negative leverage here, and this team sucks. But like 2 of the 3 most negatively leveraged lines on the slate are the Coleman Backlund line and the Coronado Greedon line. I got like 9.7% on Coleman Backlund, 8.5% on the Frost line. Like, I don't care what their price is in single entry. I'm not doing it. There's plenty of lines in that range who I much prefer than stacking a Flames line. So I'm out on the Flames.
Yeah. It's just the fact that there's so much negative leverage on the Flames. Like, obviously, I don't mind the matchup. Also, just saw that it's going to be Ville Husso starting, not Lucas Dostal. So that's, another tick in favor of playing the Flames. But all that negative leverage, like, I'm just basically out. I don't dislike Anaheim 1. Obviously, they're at 3.5 expected goals, 3.1 actual, and over 300 minutes together this season. They've been very good. Uncle Leo, over a point per game since coming back from the Olympics, over 3 shots per game in that span. He's been like just outstanding. I don't dislike them, but I mentioned on Tuesday that Ball White Cloud defensive pair from Calgary. They were stapled to the Kings top line the other night. And they played them pretty well. You know what I mean? Calgary ended up winning that game in overtime. It was the second line from the Kings that did all the scoring. Quentin Byfield got 2 goals. And if you look at Ball and White Cloud this season, 49 shot attempts against per 60 as a defensive pair, 2.1 expected goals against, 1.6 actual or something. They've been a nightmare defensively. I don't dislike playing Anaheim 1, but at 17,100, I'm going to honestly probably just go. It's like, I'd rather play Columbus. I'd rather play Columbus going into Montreal than Anaheim facing that top line or that top pair. For me, it's probably Anaheim 2. I know Beckett Seneca got benched the other night because of a turnover. Maybe he comes back with something to prove, whatever. But, Seneca and Granlund, I was looking at their minutes without Cutter Gauthier. They didn't play a lot with him, just a little bit. But without him, 250 minutes, 3.2 expected goals, 4 per 60. And these guys are all perfectly correlated on the second power play unit. And since in the 5 games with John Carlson there, Jackson Lacomb's on the second power play unit now. They're getting 40% of the power play time. That is a lot for a second power play unit. So that Anaheim second line, perfectly correlated on the second power play unit, Kaloran, Granlund, Seneca. Price is a filler, not getting, all that much ownership. You mentioned how negatively leveraged VL and Cutter Gauthier in them are. Seneca, Kaloran, Granlund under 1% owned. 13,400 is the problem. They're a little bit expensive, right? Like at that price, if you want to, there are other options. We talked about Philly earlier. The St. Louis second line is 13K. We'll get to the Kings in a second, but I honestly think it's Anaheim 2 I like best in this game. A one-off Cutter Gauthier, I think, makes a lot of sense, given how much he shoots the puck, and he's going to avoid all top pair, any shutdown matchups or anything. But for me, it's Anaheim 2, and I'm out on Calgary.
Washington Capitals with a 2.7 total heading into Utah. The Mammoth have a 3.2. Washington going Strome, Ovechkin, Beauvillier, Dubois, Wilson, Protas, Sordif, Leonard, McMichael. Utah going Keller, Schmaltz, Krause, Cooley, Genther, Cheeks. Paterka down on the third line with Carcone, McBain. I believe Barrett Hayton is out.
Yeah, Hayton's injured for a while.
And they moved Cooley to the top power play unit, I would assume.
Yeah.
On the Washington side, no one's really playing them. I would just go right back to the second line if I was playing them. I don't have a ton of interest, but for 13,700, you get Dubois, Wilson on the top power play unit. Protas plays a ton of minutes. Utah takes a ton of penalties. So, are the Caps power play anything great. Not really, but it's been better with Leonard. It would be Washington too for me. On the Utah side, it's a pretty good 5-on-5 spot for the top line. It's a good power play spot, but the power play with Cooley hasn't been as good as the power play with Hayton. But Cooley got hurt pretty early in the season, and he got taken off. He never really got it back. Anyway, like the top line here, 16,500, 4.8% top two, 4.3% projected ownership. Going out against that Ovechkin Strome line, like that Ovechkin Strome line in over 350 minutes, 3 expected goals against per 60. It's a good matchup. And, this line in 250 plus minutes, 3.3 expected goals, 5.4 actual, just chugging along. And it's a good power play spot. So I think I would go to Utah 1, Utah 2 with Cheeks there with 2 of the 3 on the top power play. I still have minutes concerns. Cooley's going to get a couple minutes bump because of the power play, but they don't play great minutes at 14-9. I'd probably just go to the top line, leave Krause there. If you did want to turn in the power play stack, you can leave off Krause, add in Genther, but it's Utah 1 for me.
Yeah, it's interesting. Now with, Peterka moving down to the third line, they've got a prospect on the second line. I do wonder if they don't use Keller and Schmaltz pretty much exclusively in a shutdown matchup here tonight. And that means going out against Strome and Ovechkin. And Strome and Ovechkin since Christmas, 3.3 expected goals against per 60. They've been horrific. It's been the case pretty much all season, but they've been horrific defensively. Clayton Keller, 14 points in his last 15 games, averaging nearly 3.5 shots per game in that span. Like, I think it's a decent night just to go to Utah 1. I don't dislike Utah 2. I do wonder about minutes. Maybe they spread them out a little bit as opposed to giving Cheeks a ton of ice time. But for me, I think Utah 1 is going to be in a pretty good 5-on-5 matchup here. Not really worried about, anything coming back from Washington. Utah takes a lot of penalties. So are the Caps. Washington, 3 times shorthanded per game over their last 25 games, tied for the 9th most in the NHL, going back to American Thanksgiving. They're 6th most time shorthanded per game. So could get some decent power play time here for Utah 1. So I like Utah 1 a fair bit here tonight. That Dubois-Wilson Protas line, like, I know the Caps, the wheels have kind of come off here in the second half of the season, but that line is still at 3.7 goals per 60 together this season at 5-on-5, and they're all skating 19 to 21 minutes a game, and they're 13,700. Like, not quite true filler status, but certainly not expensive by any means. And it's not a great matchup against Utah, but for 1 to 2% ownership, I think they're pretty fine as a filler here tonight. Like, I'd rather play them than like Chicago or that Islanders second line or, Philly. I'd still play, St. Louis above them, but I think Washington too, as a filler, is perfectly acceptable given all the ice time they play and how good they are at 5-on-5. And it is Vanacek starting. It's not Vejmelka. So it's a little bit of a boost in goal for Washington shooters. But it is Utah 1 I do like best in this game overall.
Edmonton Oilers with a 3 total heading into Las Vegas. The Golden Knights have a 3.4. Edmonton going McDavid, Podkolzin, Savoie. Nugent Hopkins, Hyman, Roslovic. Vegas going Eichel, Stone, Barbashev, Marner, Dorofeyev, Smith, Hurdle, Kolesar, Howden. I know McDavid, 16,600, 4.3% top two, 5.1% projected ownership, and they've been fine in their 2 games. But now they're getting Eichel and Stone. That's pretty brutal. I'll never say no to a McDavid one-off when he's, under 10%. Not stacking that line. not stacking the second line. Like, you can say whatever you want offensively about Mitch Marner as a center. I think he's much better suited as a wing, but Mitch Marner defensively as a center has been very good. I know that second line is fully correlated, but Vegas just doesn't take penalties. So outside of McDavid one-off, I think I'm out on Edmonton despite the 3 total. The Vegas side is much more interesting here. It's a very good power play matchup. Now their power play is spread across 3 lines. So for me, I'm just going to that top line. Eichel, Stone, Barbashev, 17,800 coming in right at their top 2 at 7.2% projected ownership. Now, you can leave them. I think that's fine. If you wanted to make it a power play stack, I would add in Dorofeyev, and it still comes in at 19,900. I think that's what I would do. If I was stacking Vegas, just go Eichel, Stone, Dorofeyev. If you want it a little bit cheaper, you could do Hertl or Marner. But for me, I think I would do Dorofeyev. He is, when Stone is on the power play, Dorofeyev is probably the most important part, if that makes sense. Like when Stone's on the ice on the power play, Dorofeyev is their most important DFS goal scorer for the power play. So I would add in Dorofeyev there. So I'd go Eichel, Stone, Dorofeyev. If you want to leave Barbashev there, fine. But this is a Vegas game for me.
Yeah, if you're on the Edmonton side and you play, let's say McDavid, Savoie, Hyman, that's like 20K. I think it's 20,100. It's like right in line with like Dallas. And McDavid's going to get a ton of ice time. But it is a pretty tough 5-on-5 matchup going up against Eichel and Stone. Now, Vegas's goaltending has not been great, and we know McDavid can completely break a slate on his own. But it's like where it's not a great power play matchup. Obviously, the power play has not been nearly as good without Leon Draisaitl there. Like a McDavid one-off, I think is fine. Even a Savoie one-off, like he's not that expensive. He's only 4,100. I think that's okay. I don't think I'm full stacking anything from Edmonton. The Vegas side is kind of interesting to me. I was telling you before the show when I ran Sims, the guy with the most positive leverage coming back from the Sims. That means exposure in my top lineups compared to all the lineups that it ran for me. The guy most heavily owned, Mitch Marner, in 1 in 4 lineups on a 13-game slate. I was looking at his game log. I hate to be a game log warrior here, but Marner's last 5 games, 22.5 minutes, 22 minutes, 22 minutes, 22 minutes, 21.5 minutes. And this is a pretty important game here tonight for both sides. Both should make the playoffs here, but these 2 teams could very well end up playing each other in the first round, and this would determine home ice matchup. I mean, both teams can still kind of catch Anaheim for first in the division, so I suspect these top Vegas guys are going to be getting a ton of ice time. If you want to do like an Eichel Marner 2-man, I think that's fine because you're right. This is a great power play matchup. Edmonton's penalty kill over their last 25 games, dead last in the league. Man. Going back to American Thanksgiving, they're 28th in the league. So like this is a great power play spot for Vegas. Eichel, he has the 6th highest projection of anybody on the board here tonight. He's only 8,100. Like we've certainly seen him being a lot more expensive than that here this season. So like an Eichel Marner 2-man, I think something like that makes a lot of sense. I don't mind stacking across lines here just because of the power play matchup. So more interested in Vegas than Edmonton. I would certainly build around Eichel. If you want to just play the top line, no issue with that. But I would probably go Eichel, Marner, and then kind of go from there.
Los Angeles Kings, they 3.3 total. Heading into Vancouver, the Canucks have a 2.6. Kings going Kopitar, Panarin, Kempe. Byfield, Morla, Ferrier. Vancouver going Rossi, Besser, Ogren, Pedersen, O'Connor, Kane. The Fighting Teddy Blugers at basically min price. On the idiotic Vancouver side, I'm probably I guess Pedersen, Kane, O'Connor at 11.9 just because of their price, the minutes. Kings take a ton of penalties. Don't love it. but you could do worse than them at 11,900. Other than that, hasta la vista, Canucks. Can't wait for your season to be over. The Kings, on the other hand, the most negatively leveraged line of the night is Byfield, Laferriere. More, they're 12,900. I completely get why, because that price is kind of ridiculous. They have been ridiculously good. And Vancouver is, I don't want to say by far the worst team because the Rangers are absolute trash, but like they are definitely the worst team in the NHL. But the Kings top line here, fully correlated, coming in with only a little bit of negative leverage at 18,600, 12.1% top two, 13.9% projected ownership. They have been very good in 160 plus minutes together. There's no matchup concerns. Well, you know, the Fighting Bluegers, pretty good defensively, but, you know, Vancouver's goalies behind them, not very good. And Vancouver's penalty kill is atrocious, and they are fully correlated. Panarin has solidified that power play. I do really like Kings 1. This is an important game for the Kings. If it's somewhat close, that top line is just going to get pumped minutes. They barely play their bottom six as it is. So I'm good with both top six line or both top two lines for the Kings. There is a lot of negative leverage on the Kings second line, but you know, if you're going to tell me, do I play negatively leveraged Flames against anybody or the negatively leveraged Kings against the Canucks, it's an easy answer.
Yeah. On the Vancouver side, I noticed Drew O'Connor and Elias Pettersson actually have decent numbers together this season. 56 shot attempts for, 57 against, like nearly breaking even by shot attempts on this Vancouver team in a 100-plus minute sample. Like that's pretty much a miracle. And that's since Quinn Hughes got traded. 3.5 expected goals. Now they're not scoring because they're shooting 3.5%. But, you know, if you do want a two-man like O'Connor, Pettersson or something like that, that's fine. I don't have a lot of interest in Vancouver. It's the Kings side. Now, when I ran Sims, it gave me 8 skaters on the slate with plus 6% positive leverage or higher, and half of them from the Kings. Kempe, Panarin, Laferriere, and Trevor Moore, and then Darcy Kemper in there as the goalie. So obviously Sims love the Kings, even with that negative leverage. Great power play matchup for Los Angeles. Los Angeles' power plays since Panarin got there and Brant Clark has been running things, 9.8 goals per 60 minutes. It's not like super elite or anything like that, but that's like 15% above league average for a top power play unit. And I can't remember the last time you could say that about a Los Angeles Kings top power play unit. It's been a while.
When Jeff Carter was there.
I mean, well before that even. So, that Kings top line at 18,600, it's a fair bit of negative leverage, but those guys are all going to get minutes. The Kings are fighting for their playoff spot, right? Like I'm pretty sure they're on the outside looking in right now. They need to win as many games as possible. This is not a spot where even if they're playing a bad team, they're going to, if they get up 2-0, it's not like they're going to suddenly play 15, 16 minutes. These guys are going to play heavy minutes because they cannot afford to choke away points at all. So I would probably go to the Kings top line. I think this is even a spot where you can turn it into a power play stack. And I can't remember the last time we've ever said that about the Kings. But
Dustin Brown.
I think I actually had a pretty good night once doing that. But that line is 18,600. Laferriere is 4,800. And then you add in Brant Clark. Like that 5-man stack's under 29,000. You add in a goalie, you still have quite a bit left for your other 3 roster spots. I would probably just straight up power play stack the Kings here. That top line's been excellent at 5-on-5, 3.2 goals for 3.2 expected goals, all skating 20 to 22 minutes over their last 5 games. Panarin over a point per game since he got to Los Angeles. Somebody wants to play the second line because they need a filler. They don't really care about the ownership. That's fine. But at the very least, for me, it's the Kings top line and probably turn it into a power play stack just because, listen, man, I know I said Edmonton has the worst penalty kill over the last 25 games. The next worst team is Vancouver. Kings or the Canucks second worst penalty kill going back to Thanksgiving. It's a great power play spot for Los Angeles. So the very least Kings won. I might just turn into a power play stack though.
Let's talk about some defensemen here. Zach Werenski in a tier all by himself. The guys in the 7K and down are Bouchard, Yossi, Makar, Hughes, Schaefer, Radish, Chikrin, Heiskanen. It's actually a pretty good top tier here tonight. I still think, from a projection standpoint, Werenski is probably pound for pound the best. I will say, though, I would assume Darren Radish has a monster projection as well. Seattle sucks. So, Darren Radish at 6,200 makes a lot of sense here. In the 7K range, it would probably be Yossi and Makar. Bouchard is 7,500. At that point, I'm just going to go pay for Werenski. Quinn Hughes, just from the sheer fact he never leaves the ice. Radish, Chikrin also in play. Kind of meh on Schaefer and Heiskanen.
Yeah, the highest projection on the board, I don't think it would surprise anybody, is Zach Werenski, but the highest point per dollar projection of any defenseman over 6K here tonight is Darren Radish. He's going to carry a fair bit of ownership, but I really don't care. If you have 6,200 to put in a defenseman, Radish in that kind of power play spot with his minutes makes a lot of sense. Cale Makar is 7,200. Not that I particularly love him here tonight, but at the Olympic break, this guy was 8,500. You know what I mean? This is a player that has typically been very expensive this season. Obviously, he can break any slate that exists. So, I mean, I get playing Evan Bouchard or Quinn Hughes or whatever instead, but Cale Makar 7,200 stuck out to me. In that 5 to 6K range, John Carlson for Anaheim, I think makes a lot of sense against that Calgary PK. Brant Clark, we just talked about for the Kings. Great spot for him. He has the second highest projection behind Carlson for any defenseman between 4 and 6K. Noah Dobson. Seems like a good matchup for him to put up some peripherals. If he doesn't necessarily get on the score sheet, it seems like a good spot for some shots and blocks. 4 to 5K, Brandon Montour has a strong projection. I don't think that's a big shock to anybody. Jacob Trouba, better point per dollar value than Montour. Philip Broberg, 4,300, the number 4 projection. Without Robert Thomas, seems kind of tough, but I mean, at 4,300, you don't really need him to necessarily smash. So I don't mind Broberg. Under 4K, Jordan Spence played 26 minutes the other night without Shabbat and Sanderson in the lineup, and Artem Zub played 25 minutes. So there are two guys for Ottawa. Rasmus Anderson has a very good projection. So does Sam Malinsky. Artem Lashunov, not that I'm super high on him specifically, but like I said, I don't mind the Chicago power play guys against Philadelphia here tonight. Zach Whitecloud seems like he's in a decent spot at home tonight against Anaheim to rack up a shot block bonus. Under 3K, you mentioned Carter Yachuk. Now, listen, it looks like he's going to be running the top power play. Pittsburgh has a great penalty kill, and he only played 12 minutes the other night. So keep that in mind. But, I mean, as long as he's power play 1 at 2,500, it's hard to argue. Tyler Clevin would be the other guy from Ottawa, under 3K. Simon Nemec for New Jersey. Adam Pelech, I'll mention for the Islanders because there's no Tony DeAngelo here tonight. He typically plays pretty decent minutes for the Islanders. And Ryan Pulock, I believe, is a game-time decision, so he might be out. That could be 2 top 4 defensemen out for the Islanders, and that means a lot of minutes for Pelech. Sean Dursey from Utah, pretty good matchup against Washington.
Let's talk about goalies. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the top range here, but, obviously Vasilevsky at home at 8,500 is going to stick out. I just don't like paying 8,500. That's more of a cash game play for me. GPPs, same with Olmark, more of a cash game play. For GPPs in the top range, it's Darcy Kemper for me in the 8Ks anyway. I think Blackwood's fine, but I prefer saving the 100 and going to Kemper. Honestly, Jesper Wallstead at 7,900 is in a good spot. Ville Husso at 7,900. Joel Hofer at 7,800. These guys in the mid-range are more exciting than the top range. Going down here, Askarov is back in the lineup. No Robert Thomas, so I don't mind Askarov at 7,600. Daniil Tarasov at 7,500 is fine. Down in the bottom range, it's not pretty. Like Hellebuck at 71, like it's not the best matchup, but honestly, Connor Hellebuck at 7,100 I think is fine. I think Logan Thompson at 7,200 is fine. I don't love Sorokin at 7,300 against Dallas, but 7,300 Sorokin's always in play. And honestly, like Stewie Skinner at 7K, I know he's Stewie Skinner and he sucks, but like the Sens aren't great at 5-on-5, and Pittsburgh has a good penalty kill. So Stewie Skinner, 7K. Good God.
Okay. I mean, man, it's goaltending, whatever. Top projected goalie is Andrei Vasilevsky, but not far behind him is Jesper Wallstedt, and Wallstedt does have the best point per dollar value projection on Stokastic here tonight. I think Wallstedt does make a lot of sense here. Ville Husso is kind of interesting. I would prefer it was Dostal, but again,
it is Dostal.
I thought they said Husso was starting.
Oh no, it is Husso. Sorry, I'm an idiot.
Yeah. I'm not as keen on Husso. He's been fine this season. I wish it was Dostal, but Husso at 7,900 is interesting. But if I have 7,900, I'm probably just playing Jesper Wallstedt instead. For the cheaper guys, Spencer Knight really stuck out. Like, I know shot volume is a bit of a concern against Philadelphia, but goal scoring is also a concern for Philadelphia. So I certainly don't mind Spencer Knight here. You mentioned Logan Thompson. I'll always have interest in him. I mean, not that I'm super big on Connor Hellebuck, but Hellebuck at 7,100 against Colorado at home, I think is kind of fine. And that's probably where I would stop. I don't think I'm going below 7,100. If you need to, I guess it would be Stuart Skinner because it's between him or Grubauer. Not playing Grubauer going into Tampa. But for me, I think the lowest I would go is probably 7,100 for Hellebuck.
Yep. We'll be back on Saturday. Tomorrow, I think there's 2 games, Classic NHL. Who are you liking for your hat trick pick?
Blake Coleman.
You're just blurting out random names. I'm on to you. Best winger in the NHL, Mitchell M. Marner. I don't even know what his middle name is, but it's, Triple M. Mitch Marner. Away from Austin Matthews, elite. But we will be back on Saturday. Good luck, everybody, tonight. Enjoy some baseball if you're into that. And we'll see you in the Discord.
Good luck tonight, everyone.